Bum bada bum bum bum. The silicone hand pump, the HAAKAA. It might be labeled as a lot of different things, but it is this right here. There are multiple companies that make the same thing. I think HAAKAA was kind of the originator, so some people call it a HAAKAA, just like we call tissue paper Kleenex to blow our nose with. It is the brand name, but the official name, silicone hand pump. So, ladies, let me tell you why this is my one thing I would have on an island. While you're nursing your beautiful baby, on the other side, you have an open breast as long as you don't have twins or two nursing children, in which I'm not going to demonstrate to keep this kosher with all of the guidelines and rules, but essentially you squeeze, it suctions onto your nipple, and while your one baby is feeding, letdown is being caught. And okay, for example, this is 1.5 ounces. I typically get anywhere from 1 up to 3 ounces. If you think about that, every time you're nursing, let's call it 6 to 8 times a day, based on the age of your baby, that is a lot of ounces. So what you do after you collect the milk, this is why it's calling this a container, not just a bottle. I pour in, then throughout the day, I make sure that I'm adding to this bottle or container. It stays in the fridge, and word of caution. So as I mentioned about breast milk and storage and all of the nuances that go with it, you never want to put room temperature breast milk into refrigerated breast milk. So although I add multiple nursing sessions to one bottle, I put this in the fridge first to make sure it chills and cools down before I add it to the other milk. This is very important to make sure, again, that we are properly handling our milk and no bacteria grows, and it is good and healthy for our babies. So speaking of proper milk handling, I have been working on my stash, and I have a large freezer full, which I will show you shortly. But basically what you want to do is defrost in the fridge. That is the most recommended method. If you look across all of the experted breastfeeding consultants, it's best to defrost in the fridge. Your milk is good 24 hours after the defrost has taken place. Sure, if you're in a rush, absolutely take your frozen bag and hold it under warm running water. Do not microwave it, do not boil it, do not defrost at room temperature. All of these things have reasons as to why it makes the milk unsafe. So while I'm on that topic, just a couple other things. I actually keep this on my fridge so that myself and anyone else that's feeding my baby knows proper milk storage. But couple things. So at room temperature, you're gonna get a range, but most experts agree that 4 to 6 hours is a safe amount of time. If your bottle was left out or if you just pumped, 4 to 6 hours would be okay to feed your child without being refrigerated. If it is in a cooler with ice packs, most agree that 24 hours it would be fine. So if you're working all day, you're out on the road, which we're coronavirus, so who knows when that happens again. But if you pumped, you have 24 hours if it is in a little ice pack with ice in it, 24 hours. Then in the refrigerator, say you pumped, you don't want to freeze it because you want to feed the baby a bottle in the next couple days. Most agree that it's fine from 3 to 5 days. As you're freezing your milk in a normal freezer, most agree that it's fine and acceptable 3 to 6 months. And then in a deep freezer, most agree that it's acceptable 6 to 12 months. So there's plenty of stuff on Pinterest that you can print out and laminate. A lot of breastfeeding groups have magnets to go on your refrigerator, so I would highly just suggest that you get familiar with the proper storage because again, it is something that we have to pay attention to. And with that, something else that I learned that I didn't really know until a few months into my first breastfeeding journey, which is when you're warming up your milk, no matter how you do it, if it's in a bottle warmer, over the stovetop, in warm water, you name it, you need to make sure that when you pour your milk in, a lot of people want to shake the bottle. I don't want to do it because I don't always do it, but they're going to shake this to, even out the hot spots. Don't do that. Instead, what you want to do is swirl the bottle. There's something to do with the milk proteins that can be broken down if you were to shake it, and we don't want that to happen. We want to keep those proteins intact. So again, after warming the bottle, or another thing to note is I give my baby 2 things, vitamin D, probiotics every single day. I add those to a bottle. So you would do a little step. Step 1, warm the bottle. Step 2, then add any supplementation that you would, because again, if you add it prior, there's a lot of research that suggests the probiotic and the supplementation can break down during the heating process. So you want to add it after it's been warmed. And then step 3, you're going to do a swirl. A swirl to make sure that milk separation is gone and hot pockets are distributed evenly. And if you have added supplementation, they're mixed around. No shake. Just like you don't shake the baby, don't shake the milk. Back on to freezing your milk and storage. So one misconception is, well, let's just fill these bad boys full. Let's get them to 6 ounces. Let's, save some room in the freezer so we don't have so many bags. We don't want to do this. It's super hard to figure out how much your baby's consuming when they're exclusively breastfed babies. So what you want to do is freeze your milk in multiple types of volumes. So for example, this was a 4-ounce volume. I sometimes freeze in 3 ounces, 100 mLs, 5 ounces. I typically won't freeze less than 3. However, what I do is I do freeze some milk in an ice tray. So I'll pour milk in an ice tray, I take out the cubes, I put them in a bag, I label what date it is, but then it's really easy just to add a little bit of milk. Let's say if your baby took down 4 ounces and is still showing hungry, but you don't want to use an entire new bag of milk, then you can just drop in one of these ice cubes of milk. Or secondly, do not do what we did in the beginning, which is just pour an entire second milk bag in. Instead, add a little bit at a time. I'm talking like an ounce. As you may or may not well be aware, once your baby has consumed milk from the bottle, this milk is no longer good up until your next feed. So let's say that I just gave my baby this bottle and he left an ounce. You know how hard you worked for that ounce. You don't want to waste it. However, once this milk has gone into his mouth, there's an exchange of bacteria and now this milk has been tainted. So you are able to feed this bottle at the next feed, but the next feed alone. You can't put it back in the fridge. You can't add more milk to it for tomorrow. It needs to be consumed by the next feed. This is something you gotta learn, you have to figure out. And have no fear, there are plenty of uses for breast milk that is quote unquote no longer good for your baby, but it's still usable. One thing that I like to do if we have, a couple ounces left, I keep it in the fridge, and when it's time for bath, I will pour the rest of the milk in the bath. There are plenty of incredible benefits of breast milk, even topically. I'm gonna link a couple articles below that go into them. So don't throw out that milk. There are ways to use it and let it still be beneficial. So the last thing that I want to talk about is just support and positions. So let's talk about positions first. I'm not the expert. There are so many incredible experts out there, and that's why they kind of go hand in hand with support. Essentially, there are breastfeeding communities all over. It doesn't matter where you're located. And again, with coronavirus, everything is remote. So originally with my daughter, I got invited to a breastfeeding support group and I was like, nah, I don't need to go. Even though I was a first-time mom and I didn't have any troubles with nursing, I still ended up going just to see what it was about. I'm like, what else am I gonna do? I was on maternity leave, I had a baby. Like, the worst was that I was gonna meet some other moms with babies. Let me tell you, ladies, this was one of the most beneficial things I could have ever attended. Not only was it a safe space to bring a crying baby and have your boobs out while nursing and, you know, not feeling judged, but there was women with all different ages of children and all different stages in their breastfeeding journey, and it was way more than just breastfeeding. I learned about eating solids and sleep training and just developmental milestones and activities to do with my baby. I learned about this thing, my favorite thing, from my first ever breastfeeding support group. So it's a lot more than just women talking about breastfeeding. However, that does happen and there's a lot of issues that can be addressed. It's just amazing that you can pose questions and you have a ton of other moms. You have a tribe that can help you. So I highly recommend just Googling your local breastfeeding support group. There is plenty out there. There's plenty of Facebook groups now that have formed given the light that we can't meet in person. So I highly recommend you seeking this out. Beyond that, we've got Kelly Mom, which is fantastic. We've got La Leash, which is amazing. So I'm gonna link all of these different groups down below, and I hope that they will be as supportive to you that they were to me. So that brings me just to positions. Like I said, will not show and demonstrate, but every position works for every different child in a different way. So do not give up, keep trying. Look at some of the videos that are, you know, on YouTube that you can watch from an expert to learn how. And just know you're not alone in this journey. Sometimes you may feel like you are late at night when it's just you and that sweet little babe, but you are in pain, or your nipples are bleeding, or they're cracked, or you just want to give up. Just know that you're not alone. And I'm here for you. Please reach out. Comment below if you have any additional questions, and look out for my next video that I will specifically be dedicating to the use of my love, my other love. All right, peace out, Snoop Mommy Moms.